What Jesus was actually attacking was the original firewall. He saw an institution standing between the human soul and the source, charging a toll for access to God. Today, we are decoding the temple breach. We're revealing why the real Jesus was a spiritual insurgent who came to bankrupt the religious middlemen. If you've ever felt like the church was more interested in your tithe than your truth, you're about to find out why. Stay with me, because the scourge he used wasn't just for them, it was to set you free. Part 1: The Temple as a Harvesting Station. To understand why Jesus flipped the tables, you have to understand what the Second Temple actually was. It wasn't just a place of prayer, it was the central bank of the ancient world. It was a place of animal sacrifice, debt collection, and complex currency exchange. In Gnostic terms, the temple was a physical manifestation of the archontic grid. The priests had convinced the people that God was locked inside a stone building and that the only way to reach him was through a blood sacrifice or a coin. This is the definition of a middleman farce. Jesus didn't just walk in and ask for a dialogue. He committed an act of direct action. By flipping those tables, he was temporarily crashing the server of the religious matrix. He called it a den of thieves, or Spiel und Lesten. In the original context, a lestes wasn't just a petty thief, it was a parasite, someone who lives off the labor and energy of others. He was calling out the energy harvesters of his time, and by extension, the religious institutions of 2026. You might think this is ancient history, but the temple system hasn't disappeared, it's just gone digital. Before we look at how Jesus bypassed the priests, we need to talk about the modern middlemen, who are still trying to tax your spiritual frequency today. Part 2: The Currency Exchange Deception. Why did the money changers specifically trigger Jesus? In that era, you couldn't use Roman coins in the temple because they had the face of Caesar on them. You had to exchange your worldly money for sacred money at a massive loss. This is a perfect metaphor for what the church does today. They take your organic source connection and tell you it's unclean or sinful. They tell you that your direct line to God is invalid. Then, they offer to exchange your natural spirituality for their approved doctrines, their rituals, and their version of Jesus for a fee. Jesus saw through this currency manipulation. He knew that the face of Caesar or the face of a priest has no authority over the human spirit. When he threw the money on the floor, he was saying, your spiritual currency is worthless. He was restoring the direct, free-to-play connection between the individual and the Father. No exchange rate required. Part 3: The Body is the Only Temple. The most dangerous thing Jesus ever said: follow the temple cleansing, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. The religious authorities thought he was talking about the building. They were building locked. But the Gnostic interpretation is clear, he was talking about the human body. This is the ultimate matrix hack. If the human body is the most holy place, then the billion-dollar cathedrals, the ornate altars, and the high-tech megachurches are redundant. They are hardware that has been superseded by internal software. By shifting the location of God from a stone building to the human DNA, Jesus made the entire religious industry obsolete. This is why they had to kill him. Not because he was nice, but because he was bad for business. If your temple is your body, then why is the system still asking for 10%? We are about to debunk the tithing virus and show you how to protect your energy assets from modern harvesters. Part 4: Debunking the Apostolic Firewall. The modern church claims authority through what they call apostolic succession, a chain of commands stretching back to Peter. They use this to claim they are the official distributors of God's grace. But look at the war on middlemen. Jesus chose fishermen, tax collectors, and outcasts. He deliberately bypassed the licensed religious experts of the Sanhedrin. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, we see that the truth was often given to those outside the male-dominated power structure. The firewall of the church is the idea that you need a specialist to interpret God for you. Jesus' message was the opposite: the kingdom is within you. Not within the bishop, not within the pope, but within the individual. Any institution that tells you that you are disconnected from source unless you use their port is a middleman trying to sell you a subscription to something you already own. Part 5: The Scourge of Cords, Active Sovereignty. Jesus didn't just use words, he made a whip of cords. This is a side of Jesus the Matrix version hates. They want gentle Jesus, meek, and mild. They want a Jesus who complies. But the sovereign Jesus understands that when a system is parasitic, you don't negotiate with it. You purge it. In 2026, the war on middlemen is an internal one. You must use the scourge of discernment to whip the parasitic thoughts out of your own mind. The thought that you are not enough. The thought that you need permission to be spiritual. The thought that you are a sinner. These are the money changers sitting in the temple of your consciousness. They are taking up space that belongs to the I am frequency. It is time to flip the tables in your own mind. We are seeing a massive wave of people exiting the temple in our comments. Over 300 views on our last deep dive prove that the sovereign Jesus is the message for this hour. Big thank you to the subscribers and the viewers. If you're ready to stop paying the spirituality toll and reclaim your direct connection, hit subscribe. We're hitting 1,000 by April, and we're doing it without a single middleman. Now, let's look at the Gnostic Temple Bypass Protocol. Part 6, the Gnostic Temple Bypass Protocol. How do you actually cleanse the temple in 2026? It starts with energy sovereignty. The temple system worked because people believed they owed the system their energy, sacrifices/money. The moment you realize you owe the system nothing, the system collapses. Stop feeding the guilt programs. The church uses guilt as a hook. If you don't feel guilty, they have nothing to save you from. Reclaim the Sabbath. Jesus said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. He was saying, the system works for you, you don't work for the system. Direct dialing, practice Gnosis, direct knowing, instead of petitionary prayer. Don't ask a God in a building for help. Command the reality from the I am within. Part 7, the Den of Thieves in 2026. We have to call out the elephant in the room, the digital temple. Today, the middlemen are the algorithms, the social credit systems, and the certified truth tellers. They are trying to create a new den of thieves where your attention is the currency and your fear is the sacrifice. Jesus' war was a warning. He knew that the spirit of the Pharisee would always try to rebuild the temple. Whether it's a stone building in Jerusalem or a virtual world in the cloud, the goal is the same, to get between you and source. The real Jesus is the one who says, I don't need your temple. I am the temple. And so are you. This is the most illegal thought in the history of religion. Part 8, Why the World Hates a Sovereign Being. When Jesus cleansed the temple, the authorities didn't ask, why are you doing this? They asked, by what authority do you do these things? The system doesn't care about what you do as much as who gave you permission. To be sovereign is to act on internal authority. The middlemen hate you because they cannot license you. They cannot tax you. They cannot control you. The war on middlemen is ultimately the war for your autonomy. When you realize you are the high priest of your own life, the entire 2,000-year farce of religion evaporates. Conclusion, the flip of the table. The tables are still being flipped. Every time a person leaves a fear-based church, a table flips. Every time someone realizes they don't need a priest to talk to the Father, a table flips. Jesus wasn't just clearing a room, he was clearing a timeline. He was showing us that the old world of sacrifice and debt is over. The new world is organic, direct, and sovereign. You don't need a middleman to find the truth. You are the truth. What is one middleman you've removed from your life? Was it a religious leader, a guru, or just the voice of guilt in your head? Tell me your temple cleansing story in the comments. Let's show the algorithm that the den of thieves is empty. Like and subscribe to join the sovereign restoration. I'll see you in the next one.